The following is a presentation of iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
Good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome back to the World Center of Racing. Tonight for the Daytona International Speedway, it is the 17th round on the 2016 iSuperspeedway.com Racing Series campaign, but it is the second race of three in the Daytona round of the iSuper Chase, and race 17 starts next, right here on LSRTV and iRacing Live. Good evening, happy to have you with us as always. Evan Pasoko, Eddie Kessler, topside with you. Cisco Scar moves to downstairs. Andy, exciting race 1 week ago at Daytona, but not this Daytona. Gonna mix things up a little bit tonight as we head into another one of our cumulative event formats. 25 laps, and 25 laps. Going to be determining who walks out of here with possibly that magic ticket into the next round of the championship. But we're at Daytona circa 07. The sun begins to set in Daytona Beach, Florida. It's a bumpy racetrack, and you take the new format that was introduced back into the championship this year, and you go back to this unique surface, which we visit only a couple of times a season. This is really a one-off event that it comes at a very interesting time in this championship, right in the heart of the iSuper Chase. I love the cumulative events, and I also love circa 07, mainly because A, we get to sit up here topside of the booth, and B, because they have to drive on the track. It is going to be an extremely difficult night for these guys. If they want any attempt of being conservative and trying to keep these race cars underneath them for the 75 total laps they're going to face tonight, it is going to be quite a challenge.
Well, it definitely is, Evan. It is every time when they come to this racetrack. Even we saw the race earlier on this season here. It was bumpy. It's really bumpy racetrack. It upsets the cars quite a bit. So these guys are going to have to do everything they can to hang on to it. But at the same time, like you said, with no cautions in either one of these races, 25-lap shootout, you can't have a mistake. You got to be up front. You're talking the chase. Win and you're in, and you keep on going as far as heading on to this championship run. That was the case for Casey Malone last week.
Yeah, he gets the automatic ticket into the next round of the championship. The Daytona round has one race behind us. We have this week's race. We're going to have a Friday off, and we'll have the final race in this Daytona round. Then we'll go to Talladega for two races in Lincoln, Alabama, before we come right back here for the championship race with just three drivers left. But the interesting point to note about that, and as we discussed last Friday here on LSRTV, Andy, is the fact that we have 16 drivers in the iSuper Chase. Only 6 of them going to move on. And you see Casey Malone, he's punched his ticket. He's ready to rock and roll, which means that there are 15 drivers vying for just 5 spots in these next 2 races. That means that as you see in the standings with names like Demergent, Basilia, Jorgensen, Flag, and company all below the cut line, you could easily have all of the favorites out of this thing before they even get to the second round.
Yeah, I mean, talk about cutthroat. You get 16 guys that make it and only 6 advance from the first round. I mean, that's absolutely phenomenal right there. I mean, that's a lot of pressure. We talked about it last week in race number 1 of the Chase. The pressure that's on these guys to have a solid run, to get the wins. How much more important is the wins in these first 3 races of the Chase? I mean, you got to get it done. These guys down towards the bottom with bad finishes last week, Seth DeMerchant, and you mentioned a couple others as well. They got to have a win. They need a win if they want an opportunity to move on in this. Otherwise, they're going to be on the outside looking in, and it's not going to be pretty.
Yet after that opening round, Casey Malone, Christian Peterson, Shane McEachin, Corey Henry, Sean Boundy, and Paul Servant at the moment are the 6 drivers that are in a qualified position for the round of 6. Ready to go racing for the 17th round on the air. We'll go trackside as always for our opening ceremonies, and Jaden Berkey with the performance of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
A big thanks, as always, to Jaden Berkey and as well to the virtual Thunderbirds. For getting tonight's action underway, it's time for the second part of our LSRTV double feature, and we're set to go back at it from Daytona International Speedway. So with that, let's take a look trackside at your LSRTV starting grid for race number 1 of 3 on the night. At a 17th race on the 2016 championship. How about Ray Rittenau at the number 87 Reebok Chevrolet from 20th? But a practice charge puts down the 47 on the 8th to put himself on a pole position, and he'll be joined by Tom Moustakis to the outside of the front row. Josh Ball, the number 48 Chevrolet, looking to get that win and advance himself to the next round here tonight. Will start from 3rd, and your fastest driver in practice going to find himself to the outside, and one of the drivers who's well below the cut line into tonight's race, the 42 of Andrew Berger, is in P4. Just behind them, another driver looking to lock up a W here tonight. Jorgensen enters this one 14th of the 16 drivers in the chase. The 88 rounds out your top 5.
Yeah, and just behind those 3 teammates right there, the 8 of Dana Osborne will start on the outside of row number 3 and 6. Frank Brusilian, the 94, who won the truck race earlier tonight, will start 7th. 8th goes to Chris Bassini. David Anderson in the 44 will start 9th, and Seth the Merchant, who desperately needs a win here tonight, will roll off 10th.
Rodney Wofford is a driver who's looking to get a win here tonight as well, much like basically every other driver on the racetrack, but for him, it's the checkered flag or bust. He'll be starting in 11th position tonight. Corey Henry going to be to his outside in 12th. The number 13 starting position goes to the 7 with Christian Peterson. Matt Quick to the outside in the 89, and Ron Flagg rounds out your top 15.
16th will be Paul Servant. 17th goes to the 15 of Greg Hooks. Jason Altmans will start 18th. 19th is last week's winner, Casey Malone. And Anthony Yankello will start 20th.
Malone, the only driver safe into tonight. Larry Camp going to start from 21st tonight. 22nd for Glenn Hedrick. Kelly Dahl 23rd. Bud Evans 24th with Sean Bounding and Daniel Holloway back at row number 18. 25th and 26th positions back on row number 7. And then we have Shane McEachin, 27th position. He's going to round out the field at the back. So if you're new to LSRTV's Friday night doubleheader coverage, it is a cumulative race format for round number 17 at around 2 of 3 in the Daytona round of the Ice Super Chase. 3 25-lap events. The driver who has the best average finish or the It basically also adds up with the math that goes to the total amount of accumulated points with the best finishes over the course of these 3 races. Is going to walk away with the official checkered flag on the night. We're happy that you're joining us, though, right here on LSRTV and iRacing Live. The pace car goes down and away. Green flag from Daytona. Rittenauer takes us through to complete and begin lap number 1. The number 87 holds the bottom and already jockeying for position mid-pack the inside, clear to turn 1.
Yeah, that looked like the top line checked up quite a bit there. The 32 of Set the Merchant got almost run over by the 12 of Corey Henry. They're able to keep it straight. It separates the pack just a little bit, though. Some gap between Rod Flagg and the 71 of Christian Peterson. And that's going to allow these guys to try to get back up to him. It won't take too long, though, as the bottom side still prevails up front. Ray Rittenauer in the 87 getting the help from Josh Ball.
Yeah, Josh Ball doing a good job pushing through the 87 machine, and they're going to be able to get P1 and P2 clear on the inside of the racetrack. You can see they bounce around a lot. We know that these guys, the rule in the series, no bump drafting and staying locked on the bumper in the corners. That includes the tri-oval. I'm not sure anybody really wants to try that here at Daytona. The draft's still a big thing. Yes, you got a side draft, you got a pinch, you got to do everything that you normally do, but these cars move around so much on the bumps. You can see in the center of the corner on the inside, the cars going up and down. You'd think they're in a supercross race going through the whoop section. There's so much movement, you have to be up on the wheel every single time. By lap number 2, the 48 jumps to the outside of the racetrack as he wants a shot at the top spot.
Yeah, he wanted to take advantage of it. Saw that run that high side was getting. Gets able, it looks like he was clear going out into turn number 3. Just chose to stay up on the high side there. It's going to keep that momentum for that high side going now. So we go 3 wide. The 88 of Mark Jorgensen Jr. looks to split the 42. His teammate and Ray Rittenauer started on a pole. Still 3 wide for that 3rd spot as they go back to turn 1.
And 3 wide they go, tight with the 88, the 87 on the inside. Bad news for Andrew Berger is the DuPont Chevrolet going to be going the wrong direction. No, he'll force his way in line, cutting off the number 1 to Chris Piscini behind Tim Peterson. Going to slice out to the outside of the racetrack. And, well, that 3rd lane I still don't think is a viable option. You see in front of them the 48, the 10, the 88. They're not all riding down on that yellow line. In fact, the outside lane almost the place to be here.
Yeah, it is, and you can see right there the 48 almost getting forced to the bottom. There's Tom Moustakis along with the 88 that Mark Jorgensen Jr. take to that outside lane right now. The 8, a little bit of a bobble there. It's going to force them 3 wide once again. Andrew Berger forced to the outside. This time, Chris Piscini now to his inside with that 94 Frank Basilia on the bottom. Middle side is going to push forward here and nowhere to go for that 42 just as of yet. He's going to lose a couple positions. Be able to slot right in. Whoa, and he makes contact. He came down too quick. Makes contact with the 44, David Anderson, and sends him down into the grass.
And Anderson back in the pack now. Heavy damage on his Chevrolet. He'll get it back up onto the bank, and he's able to avoid any further incident, but that basically does him in, and his night is more so done. And now more problems down the back straight. It looked like the 57 may have been the one that got shot at a line. Somebody is well down to the inside of the racetrack. 51 of Machida, Jason Altman's hanging on. He's got the Geek Squad colors on the 51. Tends to bring him more luck, but he's sporting some orange on that Ford than the baby blue, but not a good start for his night. He'll also drop way off of the pack. Second near accident, though, still no caution. We're clean and green up at the front of the field.
Yeah, no cautions. We got to keep remembering and telling ourselves, Evan, that there aren't any to begin with. So no matter what these guys do here, they don't want to lose touch with the pack. So that's 2 guys right there that are going to basically be out of contention for this one here in this opening race right now. Up front, though, that 88 has taken charge of this race right now. He's got that 1 of Chris Piscini giving him a push. They're going to go to the bottom, but look at the tie side as he goes up to block that 32 of Set the Merchant. 3 wide now for the lead into turn number 1. Rodney Wofford going to choose to stay with that 88, and Set the Merchant will start to fall back here. So you can see those cars, just so much movement in the corner. Look at the 32, almost loses it there.
Oh, he's going to come down in front of the pack. They'll scatter as he tries to hang on. Gets Frank Basilia and big problems. Going down the back straightaway into the bus stop. Cars spinning left and right. Set the Merchant involved in this one. Daniel Holloway as well. Rod Flagg up and over. On the inside, Daniel Holloway as well. One of the drivers in that accident. And a big problems down the back straightaway is really going to decimate that lead pack. And we go by again, still with no caution. The yellow flag in the back pocket for the night, not going to be in use. And those small accidents that we saw earlier in this race, Andy, not really a huge concern. Sometimes you would have got a yellow for those, sometimes you wouldn't. But it's when you get those big wrecks like that in the middle of the pack with no yellows in this cumulative format that really shakes things up. And next thing you know, you go from a lead pack of 20 cars to just inside of 10.
Yeah, and you can't be frustrated at all. You got to get yourself, if you got to get that damage fixed, you got to get it fixed. You got to get back out there. It's about attrition, and you never know. There could be more wrecks, more spots to get, and with this cumulative format, you got to get every single point you possibly can. So you want to stay out of trouble, obviously, for all 3 races, but if you do get into trouble, you got to stick it out. You got to be out there. You got to get as many positions as possible before this thing's over. Working lap number 8, though. The leader's heading back into turn number 1, and it's a smaller field now. It's only 6 guys up front. You got 2 more chasing them down, but it's definitely thinned out the herd here.
Yeah, there was a couple of guys you see outside of the pack of 6 up front. That has 4 on the bottom, 2 on the outside. There's 2 cars back together a little bit deeper. That's Rodney Wofford, Corey Henry. Then you got Matt Quick, Christian Peterson, right now, or Casey Malone. Still in this, still within 1.5 seconds all the way through P12, but it is a top 6 breakaway at the front of the field. And we talked about crowding. Well, this is perfect news for these guys. Not only do you not really mind, and you might not want to admit it when your buddy gets wrecked out, even sometimes your teammates, but it never really hurts you when there's less cars on track, but especially here, because we've been talking about everybody being so cramped for real estate at a very rough and abrasive track like this. Now just 9 laps into the 25, they can kind of take it easy, get to the end, and should be able to do so without incident because they do have plenty of space.
Yeah, they do have plenty of space. Plus, you got to factor in that these guys have to make they have to make a green flag stop as well, too, before this thing's over. So there's all that'll spread the field out even more than what it already is. So for some of these guys trying to catch back up, they're doing a good job sticking in line right now. Wofford and that 12 of Corey Henry, they're starting to make up ground on this front pack, as well as the 71 and the 92. That's Peterson and Malone just behind those guys. Single file is what they're doing, and they're making their way up towards the front. We'll have a bigger pack here before things are too said and done here. But green flag stops still have to happen for these drivers, and we all know what can happen on a pit road at these racetracks when you're trying to get woed down from 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, and it's always the aspect of you can get down the pit road fine. Everybody wants to be able to get a little bit more out of that stop than everybody else, and that always seems to be what makes pit road so interesting in these races. 6 cars up front. Now you're going to have to start to add a couple more names to that conversation because Ronnie Wofford, Corey Henry, they've caught up to the back of the tax Slayer Chevy, Dana Osborne, 6-car and Lawn, kind of losing the draft. And in fact, what that's doing is it's bringing those 2 cars into the conversation. So I do think we might see a 10-car pack here. By the time these guys catch up, the back 5 starting to catch up to the front 5. Quick and right now are falling a little bit more behind than they would have liked. So 10 cars at the front of the field with 15 laps to go, all running behind the number 48 Lowe's Chevrolet and Josh Ball, who is like many other drivers trying to get that win and get into the next round. We mentioned that as of now, Casey Malone is locked in. He's good to go. Peterson, McKeechan, Henry, Bounty, and Servant are in on points. The drivers, they're on the back 7th through 16th. Go in order of Ryan Keys, Chris Bassini, Tom Moustakis, Rodney Wofford, Josh Ball, Andrew Berger, Rod Flag, with Mark Jorgensen, Frank Basilia, and Seth the Merchant rounded out 14th through 15th position. Many of those names almost already too far behind to get in on points. They need to get a win here tonight. And a win in a segment doesn't necessarily guarantee you the overall win. You could win this night without winning any of the segments. You just have to be consistent. It's kind of hard to kind of build a structure on who we think is having a good night, really, till you get down to late in that final third race.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, we can settle it down after about 2 segments. You can kind of figure out who the players are going to be, but it always ends up being about 10 guys that are within 10 points of each other. So it's really anybody's race when it comes down to it, to that final segment. So these first couple, at least the first one, is all about just getting a solid run, getting a decent finish out of it. And as well, I mean, you got to remember, these guys that finish in the top 10 cannot qualify in that second race either. So they not only have a good start in this one, they have to make their way through traffic in race number 2. So that always makes for a lot of fun as well, too. So we're about that halfway point here, Evan, and I believe we'll probably start seeing pit road get pretty busy here. The question going to be with this rough surface, does anybody take tires, or is it just going to be fuel only like we've seen in weeks past?
Yeah, it is a different surface with the cars bouncing around and problems for the lead pack. Moustakis gets out of shape into the fence. He comes down. He'll tag Dana Osborne just like that. Take the 10 and the 8 out of it.
That was a heavy hit for the 10. Also for the 8, almost flipped it over. Osborne there did on the inside wall. So heavy damage to those two machines. They'll come down pit road and see if they can somewhat salvage anything out of this, but man, that's a heavy hit for those guys. It all happened right in that front pack, and that's just going to separate these even more. You can look at Josh Ball right now all by himself, and the only problem with that is he's going to get freight trained when these two guys get up to him.
So they come down to the pit lane, and I'm sure it wasn't many laps before they were planning to come down pit road. But again, we said you should be able to be good to the end of this one without really forcing any big issues, and just like that, you're running single file, a little bit of contact, and two cars are behind the fence. Drivers coming in pit road this time. Race leader Josh Ball going to give it up. He comes in for his mandatory stop. Chris Bassini also on the pit lane with the 7 Ronnie Watford, and they're also joined behind by that 7 to Christian Peterson. So 4 cars coming in pit road. First taste of strategy will get on the evening. It looks like Glenn Hendrick is also coming down pit road in search of some repairs, and Josh Ball takes the fuel-only game, just enough to get to lap 25. He's out and away.
Yeah, even with the rough surface, it's still probably a good call to take no tires. Depends on how much fuel they're going to pack into this fuel cell is how many tires. You don't want to sit on pit road for any length of time that you don't need to, especially in a race like this without those cautions, without anything to really bunch you up. So it's all about that getting on the racetrack and getting down pit road. And we see more guys coming down now. Matt Quick, Ray Rittenauer, our teammates heading down pit road for their stop on this one here, as well as a couple other guys behind. Sean Bowney, Anthony Yankello, and it looks like the 46, I mentioned him, and the 83 as well of Ramon Evans.
Yeah, those were the guys that went and took over the race lead. Once your leaders and the at-time race leader, 48 of Josh Ball, came down. But a couple of cars that he was running with, these cars went to assume the race lead. They now come in to get their stop so that they can make it to the end of this one. The 80 on Matt Quick coming down from what was the number 1 position, spending a lot of time at a stall, though not necessarily promised that was a stop that they would have liked. I know he overshot the entry a little bit, but that was a lot of time. He's well out behind our own Evans, and he's kind of in a bad spot because, sure, you were out in front of the field, but now you're coming off the pit road really without a pack. Those guys that came down together with 5 cars going to be much better off getting back up to speed.
Yeah, they are. We can see taking over the race lead there, the 48 of Josh Ball. He's got help from 2 other cars. That's exactly what you need. They got themselves some separation. That's Rodney Wofford and the 7, the 92 of Casey Malone as well. So these guys all with the group here, and they'll be able to get back up to speed. They're almost up to that 200-mile-an-hour mark here. So as the laps start to tick by, and we got about 9 to go here before this first segment's over, and 48 back to the top spot there, and you got to see it. There's almost a 4-second separation from those top 3 when you get to that next group of Christian Peterson and Chris Bassini, who those 2 guys got to be able to get some speed here, see if they can catch up before this thing's over.
Yeah, and Matt Quick is back down pit road, so a tough break for the 89. He was on pit road for a lot when he came in for that first time. Again, he was scored as your race leader, but he came in to be serviced. He's back in now for a second time, possibly for a penalty or additional repairs on the 89, and that basically takes him out of contention of having a solid finish here in this first of 3 cumulative races on the evening. Next thing you know, we're in the home stretch. Josh Ball back to the race lead. Rodney Wofford and Casey Malone running second and third at lap number 18, all eyeing that lap number 25 marker. And it's kind of hard to relate the opening 1 or 2 races of these cumulative races, Andy, to the B-Mains, but it is put these guys in an interesting spot because you just saw what happened when you weren't trying to race each other. Big wreck earlier in this race, and then what was a pack of 10 cars is now just a pack of 3 cars, with these guys breaking away 5 seconds ahead of Peterson and Piscini, who were able to survive and kind of dodged their way around that wreck just before the pit stops happened. If you're Wofford and Malone, you really don't want to do anything to risk getting into an accident, but you don't want to get down to the end of that 3rd race and be 1 position shy of winning this thing. So you got to go for the win. You got to be patient, though, and set them up.
Yeah, you got to set them up, but you also got to think of it, too, without the caution. This thing is going to get raced out all 25 laps under the green flag. So these guys don't have to make that move now. They don't have to go for the win right now. They can wait to that final lap. They can wait till that last second coming off turn 4, and then that way, at least if something happens, they can probably still, especially with the gap they have right now, probably still preserve a top 3 finish. So they have to be careful, but at the same time, you don't want to push the issue too early. You can wait till that last lap to make your move and go for that win.
They continue to sit back and wait now with 6 laps to go. 14 cars still sit on the lead lap. We talked you through your top 5. Ray Rittenauer is 9 seconds behind in the number 6 spot. Sean Bounty, Andrew Berger, Jason Altmans, Rod Evans round out the top 10. And you also have Kelly Dahl, Anthony and Mark Jorgensen, and Corey Henry rounding out the 14 cars are on the lead lap. Not necessarily going to guarantee that all 14 will remain on the lead lap. A couple of those, though, towards the latter stages of the top lead lap running order are by themselves and going to be much slower than the 195-mile-an-hour pace that lead pack of 3 cars is putting at a turn number 4. You see they go to the inside on the number 28 machine of Shane McEachin. McEachin now goes 2 laps down. He's back in 17th position. David Anderson, the lucky dog spot, doesn't really mean much here tonight in this cumulative race, again with no caution flags, but trying to get whatever he can out of this first one. And top 10 finishers aren't able to qualify for that second cumulative race, so you might not be all that bad out if you're somebody like a Yankella or Jorgensen 11th or 12th position. But even with that handicap, Andy, if you will, the guys that win these races are the guys that finish top 5 all the time. They're able to find their way through the field, it seems, rather easily.
Yeah, it is. We've seen actually 2 of these cumulative races over the season. One guy to get it done 2 times now, Tom Moustakis. Obviously not the start he wanted to this first race, but keep an eye on him. He'll be able to qualify for that next one. He was, of course, started up on that front row in this race, so he should be able to get a good qualifying effort as well. He's just got to make sure he stays out of harm's way for that second event, maybe possibly pull himself out a win, because those guys in the top 10 that can't qualify, those are the guys you hope that in the back there, they might get caught up into a wreck like we saw with these guys in this first race here. So the lap's winding down here, about 3 to go this next time by, and they're all just basically counting down this thing, but you can see these front 3 drivers just trying to keep the engines cool. They're kind of fanned out from each other. They're keeping up the draft. Still got a 5.2 second lead over the 4th place machine, so they have plenty of time to continue to pull away, but once again, like we mentioned, they don't have to force the issue just yet.
That time by, lap number 22 goes behind. We take 23, a ride on board with Rodney Wofford. He absolutely loves this Daytona International Speedway, and he thinks that he's in the best spot right now. He's the Predator running in second position. His prey in front of him, Josh Ball. He could try to set that 40 up and make a move, as opposed to being the 48, who really can't do much but just try to defend and hold off what the 7 does. Ronnie Wofford holds the power in what happens here. Curious to see if he's going to work with the 92 or if we'll end up 3 wide. Coming to take the checkered flag. Popsicle stick's going to be in the air this next time by as they round out of turn number 4. 2 laps to go in race number 1.
Just 5 miles left to settle this first one out. It is going to be up to these 3 drivers up here at the front, and I really would say, like you mentioned there just a second ago, I would rather be one of those guys in second or third right now and not be that 48. You know the time is going to come. You know those guys are going to try to make a move. You want to be on top of your guessing game, I guess, which lane they're going to go, and you know there's going to probably be a double fake, and someone's going to split out way high wide. I mean, it's going to get pretty awesome for this finish, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. But it'll only be one more time around here this next time by, and off turn 4, they'll be looking for that white flag for segment number 1 of the cumulative race.
White flag gonna fly this time by. Do you make the move in turn 40? Go for it now. The 92 gonna jump it along with just 2.5 miles left to go, but not much that Casey Malone can do by himself. Wouldn't even be surprised if Ronnie Wofford either decides to go for the winner, rides in line, but at least for the moment they still run 48, 7, 92, 1, 2, and 3 to the back straightaway final time. They're starting to get racy.
Yeah, they are. That 92 still looking on the outside. The 7 now looking to the inside. They're going to try to split that 48 now 3 wide into turn 3 for the final time. There is no draft help for any of them. Now it's just basically all He was losing some ground. Here comes Rodney Wofford. They make contact. The 48's going to do it.
All by himself, would come to the start-finish line, checkered flag. Josh Ball gonna win race number 1 on the cumulative format. They started going at it behind him before they really got a shot to go at it. It looked like the 48 was going to be the one that was out of this one, Andy, on the outside of the racetrack. They did go 3 wide. There was no gamesmanship amongst drivers. They were going at it, and the 48 got a little bit of a push on the left rear, and luckily for him, the 7 there to break his fall, and somehow Josh Ball could end up with a win. And in all of that, those guys behind aren't even going to come home inside of the top 3.
Yeah, how about that as we take a look at the replay on your screen of what exactly happened there off of turn number 4. And it really all started going into turn number 3 and down that back straightaway. But, yeah, we talk about those guys where all they had to do was basically get a top 3 finish. But you look at where they finished there because of that. Christian Peterson, Chris Bassini were able to take advantage of that mistake there. And Rodney Wofford will end up coming home in that 5th spot. And you have to look quite a ways down to find, or Casey Malone will end up finishing just ahead of him in 4th. So those 2 guys able to keep together there, Christian Peterson and Chris Bassini. They were some 5 seconds back, and that little bobble there and that accident in turn 4 was enough for them to take over those 2 spots.
An exciting finish to the first race of 3 on the night. Still 2 to go, but Josh Ball's got the best average finish right now, and he's got the max points after the first race of 3. And now the challenge for those drivers that finish in the top 10, which includes all but 2 who finished on the lead lap with 12 cars total, completing all 25 laps for the first race, are not going to be able to qualify for the second race on the night. They're going to have to dig their way up from the back of the pack. And with a big wreck happening early in this one, those aren't the best of odds. But we'll see how the night begins to shake out. 1 down and still 2 races left to go in our coverage of the 17th round of the iSuperspeedway.com Racing Series. It's the iSuper Chase. It's the second race of the Daytona round. Race number 2 from Daytona Beach. When we return, you're watching LSRTV's continuing coverage of the iSuperspeedway.com Racing Series on iRacing Live.
Did you know that Lion's sense of vision is so powerful, it actually enables nearby creatures to see better? Here we see lions assisting the offspring of others, while their parents are elsewhere in the wild. Brilliant, isn't it? Making the wild kingdom look much better indeed. Do good, be a lion.
back live at the Daytona International Speedway. Dawn turns to noon, and we get set for the second race of 3 in tonight's cumulative event. It is the second race of 3 in the opening round of the Ice Super Chase from Daytona International Speedway. The Daytona Circa 07 track proved to be a little bit too much for a couple of guys to handle. Just 12 drivers able to walk away from that last one, finish it on the lead lap, including the man who took home the checkered flag and sits at the top of the pile right now. Through what race? Josh Ball getting the checkered flag in heat race number 1. Andy, got him on the radio.
Yeah, Josh Ball, see Andy up in the booth. Got a copy?
Got a copy there, Andy.
Well, heat race number 1, you survived a pretty good battle there with those other 2 drivers, Malone and Wofford there. It pretty much started down the back straightaway. You guys went 3 wide. Nobody had any help at all, and it looked like a lot of fun there, just trying to hang on to it, keeping the foot on the floor. But walk us through that one. You got tagged just a little bit, but you were able to keep it straight.
Yeah, we were coming down to the last couple laps, and the crew chief had put in 3.4 gallons, and he said we'd be good to go. And so anyway, we were just calculating gas there in the last couple of laps, and we were looking, as soon as we hit the line, we had just 1 lap to go. And I was kind of paying more attention to the fuel gauge and let Rodney get under me. And then we were racing 3 wide, and I was trying to let Casey know I could run out. I wasn't sure because they said I had enough. But coming out of 4, it sputtered once, and as soon as it sputtered that one time, he just got in my left rear and fortunately spun me down to the 7, and somehow we were able to keep it straight, but unfortunate for those guys.
Well, they were all able to finish in the top 5, and talk about how important to start the night off with these 3 races. How important is it to get that good finish there in the first one?
Oh man, it was good to get out there and get that win. Unfortunately, it was a mistake that I came down pit road by myself. I don't know, I wasn't listening, I guess, or what, but that really was the saving grace in the end, was coming down by myself, because it allowed me to get out with Rodney and with Casey.
Well, we know you don't get a qualify in this one. You got a lot of work to do to get yourself up through the field. What's that going to be like for you at this racetrack? We saw that accident early on in that last race. That kind of took a bunch of guys out of this thing. How important is it going to be for you to get up through the field as quickly as you can?
Well, it's going to be real important here, Andy. You know, most of the time these cumulative events are, kind of try to make your way through and get to the front if you can before that pit stop. But really here, I compare it to kind of like The Walking Dead. You got these all these other cars with zombies out there. You just got to try to stay away from them for the first little bit until you can get a pit stop and hopefully get back with your buddies that are out there to survive the rest of it, and hopefully we'll be able to get another top 5.
Well, you get a little bit of a break. You get to watch these guys qualify, but you get to do it again, 25 laps here. Good luck in race number 2.
All right, thanks, guys. Thanks, Andy.
Well, there you have it, Evan. He's got some work to do. Going to have to start towards the back in this one here, but like you said, that's when it gets kind of crazy for these guys. You don't have to have those perfect finishes every single one, but for Josh Ball, after getting the win in race number 1, a little bit of the pressure's off, but now he's just got to somehow kind of get his way up through there and try to get in the top 10 again.
Yeah, and we know that it's a challenge, obviously, to get up to the field. You talk about some of our endurance events, you're able to kind of pace yourself. Here you can't, and it's a bad combo, really, for him and the other guys, because we have talked about how you might think somebody who hangs out around P11 might be in a good spot after finishing there in the first or second race because they can qualify in for the second or third event, get closer to the front earlier, but in reality, that really hasn't been what the results have shown us in the cumulative event so far. But to be fair, this is Daytona 07. It is different. These guys know how to drive it, obviously. I think that they're doing a lot better of a job. If you tossed a couple of people out there, who aren't racing on this track at a points championship for how rough this surface is, they're making it look a lot more forgiving. I think that it really feels behind the car because these Cup cars move around a lot. But I think it is going to be really hard, even for somebody like a Josh Ball, to go from outside the top 15 near a 20th position on the grid, try to make their way up to the field, where the cars moving around so much. We saw so much chaos. By lap 8, half the field was already gone.
Yeah, that was the interesting thing. And then, of course, the pit stop just separated that top group even more as we watch Well, we'll go on board with the 34, Sean Bounty, as he tries to get his lap gone here. Of course, he's a chase driver. Got a win earlier in the season, his rookie season, which was kind of a pretty cool feat for him to do. And then at the same time, he's been just fighting and trying to get more wins. But it just shows you how hard this series is to win in. And you look at even up and down the point standings, all the guys that have wins, there's a whole bunch of guys that have one win on the season and, a couple that have two. I mean, it's a difficult series when you talk these restrictor plate races to being that consistent or being dominant to win, 3 or 4 or 5 races during the course of the season. So it's really hard to do, and it shows. But in the chase anyway, his first lap is going to do that right now. It's going to start with the clock, but he was one of those guys, finished 13th in that opening race, so he needs a good qualifying effort so he can better that average finish.
Yet the drivers did not qualify. The top 10 include Josh Ball, Christian Peterson, Chris Passini, Casey Balone, and Rodney Wofford through 5th. And Ray Ritnour, Ryan Berger, Jason Altmans, Anthony Ancallo, and Kelly Dahl through the number 10 position. So you say that the winner of these, the winner of the overall event tonight, going to be the driver with the best average finish. But again, to make the math easier, that also accounts to the driver who just gets the most accumulated points on the night. So far, the 48 in the best spot because he's got 43 from the first one. No bonus points play a factor, so it's 1 point per position. So from 2nd through 10th, they're behind by 1, 2, 3, etc. points. So it is still very tight. After this second race, we're going to get a little bit of a better idea of who's doing what, but keep an eye on the bigger movers tonight. We always like to talk about guys who start in the top 10, how many of them actually finish up there. Well, that's going to be very true tonight because you're looking at guys outside the top 15. How early can they get up there? I'm not sure if I'd really be comfortable, though, hanging back because we saw the group of 6, Andy, after the wreck. And slowly but surely, the guys 6th in line, 5th in line, they started to fall back and lose touch with the draft. They were eventually saved because it was the second pack of cars, only about 1 second behind them. But you really can't hang back in 15th or 16th position hoping to avoid the wreck like you would probably do at any other race, and then risk at that point, I think, being behind. I think, well, it sucks and you might get in a wreck. I think you just have to go right off the bat. It is the more risky strategy, but I think this format kind of forces you to either go for it or just go home.
Oh, you're absolutely right, it does. Without having the cautions to bunch you back up, I mean, it's you have to be spot on. You have to get it done each and every race. You can't lag back in the back and hope to avoid the wreck because there's no caution that's going to get you back up there. You got to get up there and go. You can't lose this draft. You got to at least stick it out with at least 2 other drivers so you have at least a pack of 3 that'll somewhat get you some speed. But we saw it in that last race. You get separated and you're done. You just cannot make up time. So it's got to be one of those. Those guys in the back that couldn't qualify for this race, they have to get going and they have to get going quick, which usually leads up to another caution pretty quick too as well because you get guys fighting for every single piece of real estate on the racetrack.
So the qualifying session begins to wind down. 5-lap qualifying. As always, it is individual car runs with just your best 1 lap once you come around to take the green, counting towards the times. And the drivers right now at the top of the pile, Jorgensen Bustakis timed with a 47.999. The advantage going in favor of the number 88. So he's in front by somewhat, some sort of a 1/10,000th of a second or even lower than that. But we did see the importance of qualifying in that first one. Obviously, we've discussed the format enough to give you the idea that it definitely changes the atmosphere of the second and third races. But those guys out there, they really need to get back into this. It's not hard to have a bad race at round 1 and to get back into it in this second race. But if you string together 2 poor finishes, I think you're just too far behind.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Tom Mustakis, who had was involved in that wreck. He fell back. He had a poor finish, and that one set the Merchant as well. Those 2 guys starting up here towards the front inside the top 3, they have to get going. They have to stay there, basically. We saw Tom was running. He started second in that first race and still was caught up in a wreck. So he has to keep it up to the front there and keep it there and hope to get a much better finish than he did in the first race.
So with that, qualifying officially wraps up. Let's take a look trackside at your LSRTV starting grid for race number 2. Nobody was able to beat the 9-9s. It's a 47.999 for the 88 of Mark Jorgensen Jr. He will indeed take the green flag tonight, and the identical time to his outside to the 10 of Tom Moustakis, who's going to be starting in second. Seth the Merchant third in this one. Fastest car in practice session. Frank Basilia going to be the outside in the number 4 spot. Another good start for Matt Quick. Looking to get a better result, though. The 89 starts in 5th.
Larry Camp in that 33 will start in that 6th spot. Row number 4 is going to be the 12 of Corey Henry with Paul Servant to his outside. And row number 5, that's Shane McEachin. And Glenn Hedrick in that 21 will start 10th.
Just behind them, P11 going to go to Greg Cooks, David Anderson in 12th. 13th is Sean Bounty, Daniel Holloway in 14th. 15th is Dana Osborne, Andy, the final driver allowed to take a time in qualifying. Ramona Evans is 16th.
Yeah, and that's going to leave these drivers that finished well in that first round. Casey Malone's going to start 17th, 18th to Andrew Berger. Christian Peterson, 19th, 20th to Ray Rittenauer, while Rodney Wofford, Rod Flagg, Josh Ball, Jason Altmans, and Anthony Ankello will round out to 25, and then Chris Bassini and Kelly Dahl will start 26th and 27th here in this race number 2.
Interesting for a couple of the guys back there who, again, weren't allowed to take a qualifying time set by provisionals, not necessarily lined up either in the finishing order that they came across the start-finish line in that opening race on the evening. So even for somebody like a Josh Ball who got the win, it doesn't necessarily mean he's starting in 17th position as the first driver on a provisional. In fact, he finds himself deeper in 23rd, and that puts him back on row number 12. The pace car going to roll, and we get set to do it all over again. Tom Moustakis is looking for redemption. Second time he qualifies in P2, which again you think would be a good thing. Had a good start to the other one. And again, we talk about this every single week. And you mentioned, Andy, so many drivers having just one win. Winning is almost like a strike of lightning. Lightning very rarely strikes twice. He was in a good spot, but he just racked out. It was not his race. It was something that he really didn't have a lot of control over. For the guys that win multiple races, for the guys that win these cumulative events, they have strong cars. There's no doubt about it. But I bet if you asked a couple of the guys that get a lot of 6th or 7th place finishes, they'd say, they just get so much more lucky than me. Luck is no doubt a big part of this. You got to put yourself in a situation, though, to win these races. Moustakis has done that twice. Hopefully it pays off for him this time.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And listen, I take luck over skill any day. I mean, you got to have that, especially that racing luck. You got to have it on your side. We saw... we mention it all the time, how the 88 and the 20s, the 88 struggled last year, the 26 is struggling this year with just not having that good luck on their side. So, it's all about luck, but it's also about skill, and these guys know how to get it done on the super speedways. They do it each and every week, and then that basically throws the skill part out. These guys are all very talented at what they do, and now you got to throw in the luck and have some racing luck to get the job done.
I feel like luck is something that I tend to rely on a lot when on the racetrack. The pace car is going to go down, though. We're going to let the best of the best on the plate tracks on the sim do their thing. It is race number 2 of 3 at race number 17. The pace car in, green flag back in the air and underway again from Daytona on 1:25.
Got a top side, going to get separated just a bit. Larry Camp not quite getting up to speed as quickly as that bottom side. Mark Jorgensen Jr., though, going to have someone onto his outside there. That 10, a great start for Tom Moustakis on the outside lane. Of course, the 94 helping him, keeps him up towards the front. Look at that bottom side prevail there off of turn number 2. And the 32 is Seth the Merchant. Just a great job being stuck right up on that bumper, that 88. And that's going to allow that bottom side to keep that momentum as the 89 goes to the outside now. And now Kelly Dahl, Corey Henry in the 12 will actually cross him up and go back down to the bottom. So a little bit of separation, but the top 6 now side by side off turn 4.
And that 10 machine going to have the advantage and the momentum. And once again, your pole sitter not going to lead the first lap. That 10 on the outside, it gets the job done. Tom Moustakis in front. And again, we saw before everybody got discombobulated and out of shape after the big one in the opening race. That instead of the guys that got clear, the first 3-4 cars going to the bottom, they almost ran the middle, more so the outside lane of the racetrack. It's a lot less rough. Up on the top side, you're taking a lot more off the tires. You're doing a lot more to your race car, trying to really muscle it down and keep it down on that yellow line. Not surprised to see somebody want to jump to the outside of the racetrack. You do need some support up there to make the job work. And in fact, with just 3 cars on the outside, the inside might have something to say about that. One of the better pushers on the series set, the Merchant, on a back bumper of the 88 at Jorgensen. Going to push the 88 to a lap lead.
Yeah, just by barely right there. A little trouble further back, though, on that high side, the 33 at Larry Camp last time in the turn number 3. Got up into the wall there. Not sure exactly what happened there for him, but a couple guys behind him had to get checked up. A little bit of damage on those cars as well, but they should be able to continue on here as long as they get in a line here and get some drafting help. But right now, that top side still doing a great job with not as many cars at their side. Just the 2, now the 12 of Corey Henry jumps to the high side to try to help him out here off turn 4.
Top side of the racetrack, always going to have to run off the corner, and it always gives them the advantage in a side-by-side drag race to the start-finish line. They continue to swap things out. The 10 to the good that time by. Still running with 13, now 14 cars within 1 second of your race leader up at the front of the field. A couple of people already towards the back, though, starting to slowly lose touch, but a lot of single file deep in the pack, and even some problems deep in the back. The 33 up into the fence, and it looks like that's already problems for a couple of guys behind your leaders. But in front, first time tonight, the 10 is clear of the inside. He does not look like he's going to choose the inside yet, and in turn 3, he'll make the sweeping motion to the inside, and now Moustakis appears in control.
There was a little hesitation, it looked like, from that 10. Not sure if that's the track just being careful getting down to the bottom, or if he was unsure there a little bit. But he's going to be able to take advantage now. The top 2 on that bottom side going to prevail. The 94 having some trouble trying to get back up to speed there after losing that guy in front of him. But look at the 88. Going to force his way to the top side there and try to get that race lead back from Tom Moustakis, as they're going to get a huge run off of turn number 2. And this should work pretty nicely for Mark Jorgensen Jr. They might even clear that 94 as well as they head their way back into turn 3.
Yeah, 1 car and now 2 cars cleared at turn number 1, just as the 10 jumped ship and decided the inside was the place to go. It was not, and the outside going to continue to be the revolving door. The 94 and the 88 both going to get clear. They're not quite on the same page, though, what they want to do with the cleaner up in front of the field. 94 thought bottom, the 88 held there, and Vasilia had to make a couple of movements to be able to find himself back at a back bumper, but in fact they do. The 10 car and the 12 get clear now. Starting to see a breakaway at the front of the field as a little bit of single file breaking out from the 2 wide that takes up most of the top 10.
Yeah, it's just kind of interesting to see these guys up on the high side, even through the corners, and it's really making it so that bottom side has nothing, and that's the 32 is set to Merchant. I mean, how often do we see the bottom side fall back like we see the 32 doing? I mean, even through 3 and 4 right here, the 88's leading the train, but they're up a groove off of the yellow line. So just kind of an interesting way that these guys are doing it, but it's actually working quite nicely. They're able to stay single file and keep that bottom lane, at least for now, in check.
And if you can get people on the same page, I think is a big thing here. Obviously, teammates make that a lot easier, but sometimes you just kind of find somebody, especially with these guys who've been running with each other for so long, where they understand the style that each of them drive in, that makes things a lot easier, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to play fairly. A little bit of 3 wide, back down to 2 wide as the outside can't really figure out who's going to run where. The 94 kind of gets kicked out of line, but it works out for him. The outside drifts to the fence, and 3 wide we go. Quick, going to go up the middle of the racetrack.
Yeah, and huge action going on behind these guys, 3 wide all over the place here. Some beating and banging going on a little bit further outside the top 10, but you can see Corey Henry stuck on that outside lane all by himself, just having to go backwards now at this point, but that's going to change the face of the field up at the front. Look at Greg Hooks now leading that bottom side. We haven't talked much about that 15 car at all here tonight. Started 11th in this race, not quite the qualifying effort he wanted, but look at him right now battling up front here for the race lead.
Yeah, that, like we said, and we saw it in that first race, you saw there, everybody 2 wide. Once somebody gets up out of line, there's so much movement, 3, 4 wide. Nobody wants to lift because they know that if they don't get advantage of this situation, they could just be stuck behind 2 and 3 wide for the next 10, 15 laps, not be able to go anywhere. So everybody thinks that it's their last opportunity to do something, and they did a very good job, I'd say, getting through that one. Drivers onto the pit lane. Paul Servant, the 8 car, is in as well. Dana Osborne and some other names down on the pit lane. An early pit stop at lap 9.
Yeah, that's I think them seeing everything going on in the 4-wide action in front of them, saying, all right, you know what? This accident's going to happen soon. Let's get down the pit road. Let's make our stop. Let's get this thing full of fuel. We'll be able to draft together, get back out on the racetrack, and see where they end up. So we'll have to see probably over the next 10 laps or so once everybody else starts making their stops where those two guys sit. But I think a good call by them to get out of this mess.
And the good news for them is they get out of the mess and they get their service done, but it is still well within the window of being able to still make it to the end of this race on the field that they have on board. But you see, just 2 cars might be the biggest thing that hurts them in the long run, because if these guys up front continue to be fast and efficient as far as not taking each other out, they're going to be a lot faster in the long term compared to 2 cars working together. The pack running nearly at 199 miles an hour and 200 for the guys up front down to turn number 3. Meanwhile, that 2-car pack or 3-car pack would only be able to get about, I think, 195 or 196 based on what we saw earlier.
Yeah, so still a little bit of a disadvantage, but being locked in like they are together and out on the racetrack, they can just hope that some trouble with these guys, maybe a big wreck takes most of them out. Trouble on pit road will help these guys catch up some ground as well. So I'm just I'm very fascinated by this line these guys have because they didn't do this in that first race, and they're able to stay single file up at the front because they're running that middle groove.
Yeah, it is a different line than what you would take anywhere else. Normally, you're on the inside or the outside, and that's the end of the discussion. But again, they like the outside of the racetrack, not up against the fence, because once you start to drift high, things can go south very quickly. But run in the middle of the racetrack, it gives you options. You could go to the inside to shut the door, but you also have room where if that car gets tight and starts to push up the hill, which is going to happen at some point, especially because even though these guys pit, they don't take on fresh tires. You get a little bit of an opportunity to almost catch yourself and give yourself a mulligan for making a mistake. But like that said, when you're leaving a lane open, things can break wide open out of nowhere, and a huge run to the inside. Jorgensen get a challenge for the lead.
Yeah, he is. He's going to have a pretty good run there. Good shot, but it's not going to be enough to clear that 94 as they go back into turn number 3. That 28 of Shane McKeechy just not quite on his bumper when he made that run to help him get out to the lead. And, of course, Tom Lustakis was all over that 94. Frank Basilia, that's what kept that top side going like they have been. And you can see him right here still all grouped up very nicely up on the top side. And that allows that 94 to lead that lap once again. And bottom side starting to pick up some ground, though. They got 5 cars now on the bottom, which normally we talk about the top side not having the numbers. Well, the bottom side so far in this race here about the halfway point has not had the numbers, and we're starting to get a few more followers now as the top side, again, another run off of turn number 2, and 2 of them now will break free as they go back into turn 3.
30-some-odd degrees to bank it at 3 stories is what's giving those guys on the outside the big run. The 88 has tons of momentum on the inside of the racetrack. He's been doing a good job. He just can't get the little bit extra, if you will, to be able to get clear for the guys on the outside because, well, he does get a lot of momentum down into the corner. His car really doesn't push up that much. In fact, he's got a great handling car. He doesn't have the support from behind from the 28 or the 15 at the moment, unlike the 94, who's got Moustakas. He's got the 89 of Machida Quick, and he's got the 32 of Seth the Merchant right there. The outside, I think, if they continue to work together, is just going to be too strong. The big kicker is this going to be 11 laps to go the next time by. These guys have still yet to come down to the pit lane. There's no way they're going to be able to, I think, execute pit stops and come out in that same order. And once you shuffle things up, that's when you have to look for somebody like the 88 to take advantage of the situation, or the 89. Matt Quick, not a fan of Rodden and Lonnie. He takes a crack at it and gets second.
Yeah, he does. Goes to the bottom side there. Almost got forced there when Seth the Merchant at 32 went on his outside. That kind of forced the 89 to drop down to that bottom line, and Matt Quick will lead that bottom side, that bottom little line that doesn't have much help. Again, like we talked about, the 88 of Jorgensen, that's about it. And then you got about 2 or 3 car lengths back to the 28, but now you got the 34, Sean Bounty, trying to set himself up now. And we get closer and closer to his pit stops. These guys are going to have to fight for that bottom lane if they're going to want to get down pit road safely.
Yeah, eventually you think that something's going to have to give. The guys on the inside, if they want to pit, they don't want to break up this pack because they would like to almost force those guys on the outside to have to drop in line behind them. If you're on the outside, I think you have to start thinking of coming down pit road. You're going to have to be within the next 5 laps to come down.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. That's what we saw on that first go around here, and we're closing in on this one. 10 laps left in this race, so these guys have to start putting that in mind. I think pit road's going to start getting busy here in the next couple of laps, and I think guys like Sean Bounty, maybe Shane McKeechin, the 15 of Greg Hooks, who we saw lead just a little while ago, I think those guys probably trying to set themselves up to get down to the pit road, but you can see the separation already. 2 packs in this race. Top 14, though, they're all together, and once these pit cycles start happening, the field will start getting spread out once again, but that bottom side still struggling here in race number 2 here. Sean Bounty unable to get up there.
The waiting game continues at lap number 17. The drivers up front, for the most part, that pack remains intact. Again, several drivers have started to trickle down to the pit lane. We saw a couple come in earlier. Servant Osborne came down together, and there's a couple of guys outside of this lead pack still. It packs of 3, 4, 5 cars that are still in spots that they can come down pit road without us really noticing, but it looks like all of those drivers still run on the lead lap. So we wait for the leader maybe to kick things off. That's what happened last time, but in turn number 4, the inside, a couple going to drop away. Jorgensen headed pit side, and the 7's got to lock it up to keep him off him. Somehow, no accident.
Well, it looks like the 83 maybe hit the cone, maybe get an unsafe pit road entry for that 83 of Ramon Evans, but like the 70, it looks like the 7 really locked him up getting down, and that's going to be interesting to see if he actually flat spotted his tires, if that's going to actually hurt him, but it looks like he's going to go out fuel only. The 88's going to take right side tires, make that left sides too. What's the 88 thinking here, Evan?
Yeah, I don't know. We saw everybody pretty much agree that the last time you didn't want tires. And there's a wreck. Glenn Hedrick, the 21, hard into the outside wall, coming out of pit lane. He just spun the tires. It went straight up the hill. His night, out of nowhere, is now done. I think Jorgensen might have just forgot to change the settings on the pit stop. Again, when you load into the sim, and if you don't have a crew chief on top of the box, it's going to give you 4 tires unless you tell it to not do it. I would not be surprised, Andy, if he just forgot to change that.
Yeah, that would be a real shot right now because he absolutely has nobody helping him. He's got a big group of cars coming up behind him, way too fast for him to get the draft. But those are your leaders who still have not come down pit road. So he's got to hope to get on the draft here as they come down by, and the leaders once again do not come down yet. So they're running out of time to get that done as well.
So now we wait for the guys that stayed out to come down to the pit lane. It is the 42 of Andrew Berger, now in control of the field with Jason Altman's behind. The 94 of Frank Basilia in 3rd. And then behind them sat the Merchant, Tom Moustakis, and Matt Quick. Surprised that these guys, again, are out this late at lap number 20. They do have to pit to be able to make it to the end. They do have to take on fuel. But I think based on what we saw with the 88, him being the only one taking tires, I'm expecting fuel only again.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, like I said, some guys, depends on how much fuel they're putting in. Well, pit road's getting busy now. Your leaders, like majority of them coming down this time. In fact, that whole group, Andrew Berger leading the way, and they're all coming down 3 wide on pit road there. But they're all coming down pit road, and we'll see what a lot of these guys do, if it's fuel only for them or if some of them decide to take at least right sides.
Yeah, they were 3 wide coming onto the pit lane. They did a good job of getting those cars woed up in time. That could have been a lot worse than what it was. It was actually a pretty good entry. Tom Moustakis going to take out the cone on his way out because he needs to maximize every single tenth of a second he can get, and he actually leads the group of cars off of the pit lane. 6 in and 5 out together. It's pretty good odds. And a 94 getting pushed. Buck drafting doesn't work down there, guys.
Yeah, that's one of the things, being careful, getting up to speed on that on that apron, you absolutely have no grip. There's no banking. There's nothing. So you get onto that gas too hard there, you'll see exactly what the 94 just did. But that's a pretty good group that just came out. 5 cars strong there, led by Tom Mustak is in the 10. And see how these guys actually make out here once this gets all cycled through. Again, 32 coming off of pit road now. Looked like he came out by himself, and a little tire spin there, but the rest of the field starting to come around off of turn number 4. So these guys will definitely pass him and get by him pretty quickly here as the top 5 now make their way around. And it will be, it should be, I should say, Tom Mustak is leading the way once everything cycles through.
Now we look at the picture of where we sit with just 3 laps to go. Seth the Merchant waited the longest. He was in the race lead, but that's what happens when you have no drafting support. The 32 falls back, and Tom Mustak is looking to get the solid finish. I think the 10 car going to lead us across the line with 3 to go.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. Once again, this is like what we saw in that first one. Everyone just kind of somewhat being patient, except the 34 right now. Sean Bounty just not sure if he's out there trying to get positions or if he's just trying to keep that car cool before that time comes, before they have to make that move to try to get the win in this opening race. Of course, Tom having the problems in the accident, this is exactly where he needed to be with that great qualifying effort, is to be up front at the end, and that's exactly what he's doing right now when they're coming to 2 to go this next time.
2 laps to go, we find ourselves in a similar situation. A couple of cars have broken away or in this competition. The 10 of Tom Mustakis leads the way. Frank Basilia behind. The 42 of Andrew Berger in 3rd. And just behind Tim Vibrani, 2 of Casey Malone P4. Sean Bounty starting to slide off in 5th. It's about the same amount of cars this time by. Popsicle sticks in the air. 2 laps to go. And it looks like they're going to follow the same formula that we saw earlier. And that looks like would be waiting to the last lap.
Yeah, I'm almost wondering if that 34 has lost the draft here. It seems like he's been able to stabilize this position right now, but I'm not sure if he actually has enough draft to get back up there and contend with these guys. So it might just be a 4-car breakaway here before this thing's all said and done. And they only got about, I don't know, 3 miles or so to get it done here as they go back into turn number 3, and they'll look for that white flag this next time by. Top 4, they're all separated now. Sean Bounty definitely losing the draft right here, and maybe hoping that these guys up front will wreck as they come to the white flag.
We saw it the last time. What are the odds we see it again? White flag at Daytona, the second race of 3 on the night. About to draw to a close. Tom Mustakis from the front row trying to close it out. Basilia Berger behind. Turn number 2, here's where they made the moves the last time down the Daytona Superstretch.
Yeah, this is where they made those moves, and you saw them go 3 wide that last time. It doesn't look like any of them really trying to make that move just as of yet. They go into 3 for the final time, still single file, and they're catching up to a lap car, the 48 machine with Josh Ball in the way. Single file, they'll go around him off turn 4 for the final time.
Final time, they're going to go to the inside of the 48. Mustakis, he'll hold the yellow line. Challenge for the 94 to the outside of the racetrack. Not going to come home in time, and Tom Mustakis wins race number 2.
That's exactly what that 10 needed. We talked about that at the beginning of the race. With that accident, he got another strong qualifying effort starting on that front row. He needed to stay there the whole race. He did. Got a bunch of laps. He comes home with the win, so that's a good rebound from after that wreck in race number 1. So obviously this will put him in a better contention here with 1 more to go.
Mustakis getting the job done in race number 2. And a lot of the big names from that opening race did not have the best of a second race on the night. And we'll wait for the official points to update. But somebody like an Andrew Berger or a Casey Malone may be indeed in the catbird seat. Guys who started from outside of the top 16, if you remember, with the drivers that had the best finishes inside the top 10 at race number 1. We'll have to see who is in front. Looks like it's basically anybody's game. 2 races down and just 1 more to come on the night from Daytona International Speedway. So we'll step away 1 more time. We'll come back as the sun begins to set in Daytona Beach, Florida. That'll bring you live the final race of 3 on the night. And we'll see if we have another driver punching his ticket into the round of 6. You're watching the iSuperspeedway.com Racing Series iSuper Chase on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing. More when we return.
While lions are notorious for their voracious appetites, they spend a great deal of time feeding other creatures. In fact, lions will take great care to ensure there's plenty to go around. As you can see, they keep giving with utter ferocity. Bravo, lions, and bon appetit. Do good, be a lion. Did you know the lion's sense of vision is so powerful, it actually enables nearby creatures to see better? Here we see lions assisting the offspring of others, while their parents are elsewhere in the wild. Brilliant, isn't it? Making the wild kingdom look much better indeed. Do good, be a lion.
Welcome back live to the Daytona International Speedway, where LSRTV's coverage of the iSuperspeedway.com racing series continues tonight. Just one race left on the night, and a third of three. Coming up, 25 more laps left from the World Center of Racing, and a second race of three in the opening round of the iSuper Chase. 2 weeks from now, after the third one, 10 of the 16 drivers who have advanced to the chase are going to be going home, but a big way to make sure that that's not you is to win tonight's competition. We're happy to have you with us. Drivers head to qualifying. Evan Pasok with Andy Kessler still topside with you, with Cisco Scarmoose downstairs. That Andy is caught up with our second winner on the evening. Tom Moustakis took home the W after having a poor finish in the opening race, and he puts him into the top 10 coming into the final race. Andy, you've caught up with the 10 as he sets out for qualifying.
Yeah, I have. I'm down here talking to Tom Moustakis. And Tom, you get to sit out this qualifying effort, so we'll give you a little chat to you. But you rebounded, a great rebound for you to after that first race there, getting caught up in that accident, heavy damage. You end up coming back with a solid qualified effort once again on the outside row. And then you get the win, which propelled you now up to about 12 points out, it looks like, for this race win. So you have an opportunity to pull this one out here tonight.
Yeah, I don't know if we have enough to get the overall win, but top 5 is reachable, and that's going to be the goal. Had some bad luck in the first race, and we were coming in for a pit, and I was kind of trying to give myself a little bit of room, and didn't realize I slid up the racetrack, and Chris got into me there, and so it's just a racing deal. But second race there, I had some awesome pit stops with a group of guys, so got the win, and we'll see what we can do in the second race. Got to come from the back, though, so it's going to be a little tougher.
Yeah, it will be tough. We've seen you do it, though, this season, picking up 2 wins on the season in these cumulative formats. So you definitely like the way this is set up, or at least it worked for you this season. So if anybody can get the job done from the back of the field, it's definitely you in that 10 car.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll have a good shot at just the top 5. I mean, Casey Malone finished 4th in, I think, both of the first 2 races. So, I mean, I have an average finish of 9.5, and he's got an average finish of 4. So, he's going to need some bad luck. And I'm going to have some other guys are going to have some bad luck too. So, I'll be happy with the top 5 after last week. Didn't have a good points day, so got to rebound so we can keep going the chase.
Well, that's what it's all about. So get out there, and we wish you the best of luck. Hopefully, you can get that a good run here in the final one and get yourself up there in the points for this night.
Yeah, 10-4. Thank you. You got to thank Toyota and Little Tykes, Destin, and my son on the side of the car. So thank you guys.
No problem. That's the driver of the number 10, Tom Moustakis, picked up the win, Evan, in that second round, and of course you can't forget that sponsor, Desitin. You can't go anywhere without that.
Yeah, he's looking to get the job done at this one. Talking with him about the probabilities of getting this thing done for real. He's 12 points off of the top spot on the ladder, but he talked about some of the guys, so let's let you know where they officially sit now. With 2 races done, Casey Malone is indeed at the top of the pile. He's got 80 total accumulated points on the night. Andrew Berger, 2 points behind him in second, and then a tie for third with Chris Bassini and Ronnie Watford, just 3 points out. Not mathematically out of it. You start to look at names 10, 11, 12 points out, but I really think it's going to be a race between those 4 names.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, but we have to always remember that this is Daytona. This is a restrictor plate racing. What we saw in that first race with the Rex taking out some of the big names, like guys like Tom Moustakis, anything can happen in these races, and those guys up towards the front, Casey Malone, Andrew Berger as well, they have to not qualify once again. So Casey Malone has brought it up through the field in race number 2 to finish 4th, and he's got to do it one more time. So you definitely decrease your odds when you have to do it back-to-back times like this. So it's all about what's going to happen on the racetrack, and it should be a lot of fun. But you're right. There is basically 4 guys battling for this, but I definitely won't count out until that last bell. Those other guys, Sean Bounty, Christian Peterson, Josh Ball and company, that are just sitting back about 10 to 12 points out.
Everybody is still in it as long as their car is on the track. That is what Daytona is most well known for. Those guys that are just a couple of points back, you mentioned Bounty, Peterson, Ball, Dahl, Moustakis, Riot, Jorgensen, even Corey Henry, all within 15 points. Still well within the realm of possibilities of getting the job done. But you look for the names, Casey Malone, well, he's going to find himself down the ladder for this one. You look at a name like an Andrew Berger, he's going to be deep in the pack. Chris Passini as well, going to find himself deep in the pack for this one. And then you even look to the last name in that conversation with Ronnie Watford. So those 4 are starting at the disadvantage of being deeper in the pack, somewhere outside the top 10 or top 15.
Yeah, it's going to be all about the finish, where these guys can get the job done. And it looks like the qualifying is almost done here, but or it is done. And we'll get this grid going here, but a lot of guys having to come through the back, trying to cement their spot and try to get this win, try to get this chase keeping going. And guys like Casey Malone, who already got the win last week, how sweet would it be to steal one away from the rest of them?
Looking to seal the deal here and get the job done, and you're exactly right, because we keep talking about you get the win, you punch your ticket. Well, if you can win all of the races and don't offer anybody else a free pass, it makes you not only give you momentum, obviously, from getting the job done, but it might also allow you to dodge a couple of bullets going into that second round of 6. The qualifying session done, and we're set for the final race on tonight. So as always, we head trackside and take a look at your LSRTV starting grid. At I-91 for Josh Ball, the 48 Chevrolet. Another solid qualifying effort. Could roll him from the pole position, and he'll be joined by Mark Jorgensen Jr. on the front row. Paul Servant going to start tonight in 3rd. 4th place is Matt Quick, rounding out your top 5. Ron Flagg.
Then you'll have the 87, Ray Rittenauer, start on the pole in race number 2. He'll start 6th in this one. Dana Osborne in the 8, who had trouble in race number 1 and quite haven't had the night that he's been looking for, will start 7th. 8th will go to the 51 of Jason Altman's. Greg Hooks will start 9th, and Ramon Evans will round out our top 10.
Just behind in 11th, continuing on to the drivers who qualified, Daniel Holloway and Shane McKeechin. Here on out, going to represent the automatic transfers and provisionals, including those that finished in the top 10 in the second race. 13th, Casey Malone, Andrew Berger. 14th, 15th is Christian Peterson.
16th, that'll be his teammate, the 32 of Seth the Merchant, Tom Moustakis, who won the race number 2. He's got some work to do, though. He's going to roll off in that 17th spot. 18th goes to Rodney Wofford. Corey Henry will start in the 19th spot. 20th goes to Frank Busilia. And then Sean Bowney, Chris Bassini, and Kelly Dahl will round out the 23-car field we have here in race number 3.
Always hard to predict how these races are going to go, but race 1 and race 2, very different from each other. A lot of carnage in the opening round of this one. The second and most recent race, not as much. A couple of guys getting out of shape, but really I think the race-winning moves were made on the pit lane, and it was almost a game of chicken where most people waited until they got 20 laps into this race before they decided to make a decision on when they would come down to the pit lane, and we were, just like in the first race, really left with just a couple of names that would be able to fight it out to the end. How crazy could this finish get if you get those names that we discussed at the top of the championship up there coming to the line? In fact, Andy, that's the ideal situation for us, because for all we know, they could come across the line in 15th, and we could have no idea what each position means on the white flag. I think that's even more nerve-wracking for a driver, not knowing where you need to finish to get the job done, not knowing what the current point situation is, as opposed to having your challenge, if you will, laid out right in front of you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the only person that really knows his own fate is probably the 92 of Casey Malone. I mean, he knows those other guys that are right there with him in the points, and he knows that if he creeps his way up towards the front, it's going to make it that much more difficult for those guys to get the job done and to get the win here tonight. So looking for him to get up to the front rather quickly and hopefully get his second win in the chase.
We're excited to see what's going to happen, and we're excited that you're still with us here on LSRTV and iRacing Live for the final time tonight. The pace car going to dive on in. The yellow flag remains in the back pocket for the rest of the evening. Green flag and underway. Race number 3 is green, and Josh Ball brings us across the line.
In trouble already on the front stretch going down into pit road. The 4 of Paul Servin, the 26 of Rod Flagg. So 2 drivers already trouble down on the inside, and their race is over already.
And Servin hangs on, but he loses too much time for it to matter. He was able to keep it out of the fence. Rod Flagg not as lucky. He came barreling into the pit lane and just about made the crew of the number 4 team have to change their fire suits, plowed into the pit road wall. His night is done. But then, of course, once you really lose touch with the lead back, your night is done at that point anyhow. Side by side for the race lead as we look to bring lap number 1 to a close. Last time, the driver who started second led lap number 1. It's going to happen again. Jorgensen on the outside.
Yeah, it's going to make 3 races in a row, I believe, Evan. The outside lane going to be able to prevail, and we saw it in that race number 2. Kind of a different strategy for these guys, and it was to run that middle lane. Even once they got broken out single file up at the front, they rode the middle lane. They didn't go down to the bottom, and it was able to keep them separated for a long time. So we'll see how that all shapes out in this one. But for the time being, the top 6 right now still side by side. But look at that 92, Casey Malone, already making his way up to that top, almost flirting with the top 5 position already.
Yeah, he is doing exactly what he needs to do, and he started in 13th position, the best possible spot he could have. Remember Josh Ball winning the first one, but did not get the best starting spot out of the provisionals? Well, Casey Malone lucked out. He was the highest starting driver in the field on a provisional. Then on E2, already up to P7. He's on the inside of the racetrack, which I would argue the safer place to be early. Is getting the job done. He's doing exactly what he needs to do, and it didn't take a big wreck to avoid to get him up there. But again, those cars that you saw spit out on the drop of the green flag were both on the inside lane, so that gave him 2 spots right there.
Yeah, it did. Top side, though, continuing to be the place to be. The 88 of Mark Jorgensen Jr. Matt Quick doing a great job up here in the front of the field, giving that push that 88 needs to keep that race lead, to keep that momentum. He'll clear that 48 off a turn number 4, and we'll see if that 89 can actually follow suit as well. He's got Ray Rittenauer in that 87 trying to help him out along with Andrew Berger on the top side. The bottom side's going to fight back here as Jorgensen Jr. He's going to stay on that outside lane, so he's already starting to do what he did on that race number 2.
And he started up front, I think, as well, right on that front row in the first race, or in the second race also, but has been up front in the better half of all of these races. And on the outside, they're both going to be able to get the run. But look at Quick. Not only slides to the inside, but he almost tried to catch the 80 off guard, and it worked. He got to his inside. Problem is, the 48 chooses, with the 88 instead of the 89. So all the momentum in favor of Matt Quick goes away, but it was a smart move. He's on his toes. We've seen him do that a couple times tonight now. Jump for the outside of the inside, trying to get something and trying to catch these guys off guard.
Yeah, absolutely. You see the teammates hooking up front now, and then they'll run that middle lane right now, which does not help Matt Quick or the rest of them down at the bottom, especially when you got Ray Rittenauer, the Matt Berger, Matt Berger. Andrew Berger up there on that tie side and go sit the Merchant. Now you got the 51 of Jason Altman's as well up there on that high side. You can just see how much that high side means to these guys in this race and on this racetrack here. Is the top side just too many cars up there on the top side for Matt Quick to have any bit of a run.
And they really start to begin to get shuffled out of line. No longer just two solid lanes. In fact, most cars up on the outside of the racetrack, which, as we've noted a couple of times tonight, not what you normally see. But here at the Daytona circa 07 circuit, it is more commonplace. And right now, are down on the inside of the racetrack by himself may fall outside the top 5.
Look at that top side, just absolutely dominant right now. And you got 3 teammates sitting 1, 2, and 3 right now with Seth the Merchant, one of the veterans, last season's champion as well, up here in the top 4. He's one of those guys that needed a solid run here tonight. It hasn't been the night that he's wanted, but he's in that position where he's got to get a win to move on to that next round if he wants to defend his championship. So a good run tonight will just set him up to where next week just basically becomes a must-win for many guys.
Single file up front, earliest that we've seen this breakaway occur, and we look back to where the 2 wide is to see who's in that battle on the inside. The 83 Ramona Evans running in front of the number 87 machine. You wonder where that 92 Akisa Malone was doing so good. He's back outside the top 10 because the inside just kind of died out, and now you're back into P11, essentially where he started. So he hasn't made up quite the ground that he would have liked so far, but with Andrew Berger being the next closest driver to him, and Andrew Berger, in fact, at the moment, running it in the number 3 spot, he's got to get up and get going.
Yeah, he absolutely does, because if that basically ends right where they're at now, it's going to give that 42 the big win that he needs to keep himself going here in this chase for this championship. And look at that bottom side, trying to get some momentum here. Berger's going to try to block him. He chooses to go back to the top side of 51. Altman's going to be left all alone because Dana Osborne now goes to the high side to help that top side out a little bit more. And have about 5, 6, 7 cars there on that top side in just a moment. The 8, though, goes back with the 51, and they're going to try another run here off of turn 4.
They're going to wind it up and take another swing, and they're real close on each other's door that time. Coming out of turn number 4. We talk about the cars moving up and down the racetrack. These guys have been extremely impressive, I think, so far tonight, Andy, to be able to go at it side by side, and we haven't really seen any incidents from people sliding up into each other.
Yeah, especially at this track, how rough it is, how much the tire wear is actually a factor as well. So this track can lead to its own problems now. 3 wide now for their lead. Jorgensen Jr. is going to left right in the middle there, and this might have been a play maybe with these teammates to try to get some air to that nose of that 48, because I did hear that he was kind of getting a little hot now, but now they're trying to scramble to get back in line, and it's just breaking that whole top side up completely, and they're going to still run 3 wide now off 4.
3 wide, they go now behind the leaders. Up the middle comes Seth the Merchant. The 92 Akisa Malone is done sitting around. He knows he's got to get to Andrew Berger. Just like that, he's up on him, and he goes to the inside. The Merchant going to shut the door as they continue 3 wide behind, and all of that behind the battle for the race lead. That sees Altman's in front as the 8 of Osborne tries to challenge back.
Yeah, that's 4 cars now sitting side by side. The front 2 rows there, Matt Quick there in the 89 as well, up in this mix here too. Andrew Berger trying to do everything he can to stay up with this group, to try to stay in front of that 92, to give him the possibility of getting the win here tonight. So that little bobble that these guys had with the 48 jumping out to the high side, that 3 wide action we saw a lap or so ago, that really spread these guys out here up front. They really got to settle down, get back in line, and see if they can get themselves back up in the groove here and get some speed back in these cars and get back up to the front to battle for this race lead. But you can see that 92 trying to get up there. He's got the 48 of Josh Ball giving him help as battle for the lead shapes up again once more into turn number 3. The 88 Jorgensen going for it.
And you can't afford to lose touch with the lead draft before the cycle of pit stops. If that happens, you're not in a very good spot. So you've got to hope that you can stay with these guys at least until you get to the halfway point in this race at 1 or 2 laps. Pit window now open, but we don't typically see pit stops begin until laps 15 through 20. That is just how long you got to hang on for. Then find your partner, then come down to the pit lane, do it with your teammates. You got to be scrappy up until this point. And Andrew Berger now back into number 2 spot. Once again gives him the advantage over Casey Malone. Again, just 2 points separate them, which means the 42 is going to beat him by 3 positions to get the W.
Yeah, right now he's got him by about 4, maybe 5 here as they race their way back into turn number 3. Casey Malone on the outside trying to work with Matt Quick, trying to get themselves back up towards the front of these guys. Bottom side kind of separating the top lane as the 92 goes back to the bottom. They'll follow in line now behind the 48 of Josh Ball and try to do it 4 cars strong now as the 8 of Osborne now moves down as well. And Altman's trying to fake him out now as he goes to the high side now on the 8 and trying to make up some more ground too. He's just not satisfied running in that top 5.
You can never settle. That, I think, is the major thing. You always have to keep moving because you're not really going to see anybody take the lead here on lap 3, lead through lap number 23, and then have to deal with the fight at the end. It's a constant revolving door. You almost want to say, okay, I'll just ride 7th until it matters, but you can't afford to do that because at that point you're going to find yourself too far back when it matters the most. But they are absolutely going at it. 12 laps to go. Demergent, the outside of the racetrack, all eyes on a 42 and the 92, a dead tie as they run right now.
Yeah, they are absolutely that close. That's what it's all about with these races. Anything can happen, any position, and every position means everything, especially in this cumulative format. Keeps the points so close all the way to the end of this thing here. Top side, though, going to prevail. 32, the 51. Josh Ball trying to get back up there as well. He'll clear the pack. Top 3 now. Single file. See if they run the high side like they have been over the course of this second race and now into this 3rd race here. You can see they decide to do that and run that middle lane, and it's going to give them the advantage now. It's the 51 of Altman's looking for the race lead now at the start-finish line.
Altman's wants it inside of the racetrack, going to give it to him, and Josh Ball with the assist at number 48 pushes the 51 out into the front of the field, and now they get a little bit of a breather for about, maybe half a lap, and they're going to be right back on top of him. The 88 of Jorgensen, also somebody else who has had a really good night, but the numbers just don't show for him as he enters 11th overall on the evening to this point in the race. A big push from the 32. Now when you start to get guys pushing people and you're starting to get this accordion effect, if you will, with the 88's already on the bumper of the 48, and he's got the 32 pushing on him, that's when things can go downhill, and it can go downhill quickly. You got to make sure you can get to that pit stop. You don't want to blow it, 1 or 2 laps shy of the number. They've got a number, and for the most part, there's a lot more single file in this pack than what we saw at race number 2. Surprised they haven't come down to get out of the way yet. I guess it's a waiting game to see who makes the move first.
Yeah, it is. The 2 guys we saw in that last race, Paul Servant was one of them in that 4, and I believe it was the 8 of Dana Osborne decided to come down pretty quickly, but then when it came down to the end of it, the 2 of them were just not enough to get up to the front and battle for this. So this race so far, they've decided to stay out there. Everybody has so far here, working lap number 16, and they're just moving and dicing and changing lanes up there right now. Set the Merchant from the bottom to the top now, right in front of Jorgensen. That's going to give that top side some more help coming along the way. The 42 of Andrew Berger, the 89 of Matt Quick as well, still up there on the high side. And Josh Ball will look to the bottom. He's got somewhat of some help trying to get up there is the main key, and he's going to get at least to the rear quarter panel of that 51 of Jason Altman's, and at least for the time being, keep them to the high side, and they'll get the run now off on in the backstretch.
At lap number 17, once again, down the Daytona Super Stretch they go. The outside starts to form, as you mentioned, up a little bit more. 3 cars to the good on the outside of the racetrack. And now down through the corner once again, getting set to see that cycle of pit stops for what's going to be the final time. Still 16 cars on the lead lap. You see a couple of lap cars remain high. Still lap 17, not the magic number. Looks like they're going to run as much fuel out of this thing as they can the first time around.
Yeah, those might have been cars. I might have to look there, but I think maybe the 34, Sean Bounty, had just came down for his pit stop 1 lap ago. So trying to get now to the back end of this the draft here of the lead pack, so they could try to keep some speed up for when these guys start to come down pit road. The one at Chris Bassini as well, he's getting passed by this group too, so he's one of those guys also that had already made down to get their pit stop, but they were running in that second pack to begin with since the beginning of this race, so they have not been able to get up to the front. Oh my, pit road is real busy now. Half of the leaders coming down this time.
And the 51 out in the grass, Jason Altmans. One of the names that was in front. In fact, he was in front. Just overshot it. Not even close. He blows through into the grass. The 48 of Josh Ball about did the same, but that's at least half of them in.
Yeah, it is, and we'll see on this stop here. It looks like the 88 fuel only this time. That last race we saw what he did and took the tires, but it looks like the 48 of Josh Ball. Problems for him, too. He's still sitting on pit road. Probably a speeding penalty for that 48. His night's going to be done.
But now we see the remaining drivers come in. Santa Merchant going to lead this group down. Can he get it loaded up in time? No! He'll overshoot it also. And he'll hang on. Matt Quick out in the grass. I'm not necessarily sure. He's definitely going to have a speeding penalty. He was doing about 74 miles an hour down there on pit road. That's another second time in a row the lead car overshoots the entry. And because, Andy, sometimes the cars behind him got to use that lead car to gauge it. Many other guys got real close.
Yeah, they did. And it looks like the 32 just said, I'm done. I sped in pit road. My race is done. So it looks like he will just not continue there. He didn't even stop in his box. So you'll see that for a couple of these other guys. So one of them still on pit road, the 89 of Matt Quick. Speeding penalty for him as well, so not what he wanted after starting in the 4th spot.
For those that were able to make it into their stalls, going to come in, they get service, they get back out on the racetrack, and the question is, who gets to the race lead? Dana Osborne, way out of shape. He gets up onto the surface too soon at a turn 2, and he about spins the car out, and it looks like the 42 is going to go to the race lead. That's Andrew Berger. He leads the way, the 88, the 10, and then the 92 with Casey Malone. And I think as they run right now, Berger might have it, Andy, by just 1 single point at 5 laps to go.
Yeah, this is just going to get interesting with these guys going at it here. And you got to watch that 88. Probably going to be stuck to that back bumper, the 42, the rest of this way here. Teammate, that's exactly what you want to need to get this job done, to get this win, to get yourself moved into the next round, or at least lock yourself into that next round here. They got to do everything they can to keep that 92 behind. And right now, that 10, he's going to give them some help. 2 of them, they're going to go for it. Andrew Berger drops to the bottom to block, though. He's going to leave himself without his teammate, but for the time being, it's going to keep him the lead.
It's a big battle between the 88 and the 92 because, again, without the bonus points, it is a point per position, and the advantage to Malone is by 2 points. If the 92 finishes in 3rd and the 42 finishes in 1st, it's a dead tie. And you'll have to go down the tiebreaker procedure to determine who's going to be able to walk away with the checkered flag here tonight, and that is big news when you look at the overall championship picture, because obviously we talk about Casey Malone has had a great start to the 2016 championship, and without a doubt, because he was able to put that car into victory lane just 1 week ago. There's a big difference because of Andrew Berger, who is way down the ladder, gets the win. He also moves to the next round. There's only 4 spots open in the final race around number 1. So this is a big moment. The 42, the 10, the 92, run 1, 2, and 3. Jorgensen doesn't want to sit in line. He looks to the outside at 3 to go.
Yeah, I think he knows exactly what he needs to do. He's got to get up in front of that 92. They got Frank Basilia behind him, teammate as well, so that should be able to help them a little bit. The 71 of Christian Peterson is going to try to help as well, but they need to get themselves in front of that 92. It's maybe not all about the win, but maybe trying to help that teammate out to get the win, to get themselves locked into the next round of the chase. So the 88 knows he needs to just be in front of that 92 to help out his teammate.
So there's two sets of 3 cars. The 42, the 10 that on each on the inside, and then the 88 that on the 4 and the 71 on the outside of the racetrack. They're going to try to squeeze 2 wide. Moustakas going to cross over Berger 3 wide at 2 laps to go, and it's all falling apart for the DuPont Chevrolet. Side by side with Moustakas and Jorgensen now for the point.
Yeah, he got absolutely. I mean, there was nothing he could do. He could have tried to go up there and block, but there was just such momentum with that 88. There was no way he was going to do that without getting wrecked. And they did a smart move to get separated there just a bit, but they're going to drop down in front of him, which is going to help him out as well. And that's going to actually leave that 71 of Christian Peterson all by himself up on the high side. The problem is they got to get that 42 to the front. He can't run where he is now. That's only 1 spot ahead of the 92 as they exit turn 4, coming to the white flag.
I think he's lucky that he was able to get that 1 spot, but now back 2 spots in front. The white flag waves. The battle for the race lead is on between the 88 and 94, but the battle for the overall night win and a possible ticket into the championship round, going on to the round of 6 and moving on for the round of 16, is going on behind them. Turn 2 for the final time, and it looks like Malone's starting to lose touch.
Oh, man, it's getting close. It's getting all crazy up here for the final time into turn number 3. The 94 of Frank Basilia going for the race win here as he jumps down to the inside of Mark Jorgensen Jr. This could be a little bit of play here with points and finishings here as the 88 drops back in line. The front teammates now, turn 4 for the final time.
The 94, he'll come and take the checkered flag. The battle behind going to be the big one. Checkered flag waves. Frank Basilia going to get the job done. Andrew Berger, P2. Casey Malone, P6. The 42 going to be your cumulative winner at Daytona. Unofficially going to punch his ticket into the round of 6. However, some review may be in order coming to the start-finish on because it looked like the number 71 machine went down below the yellow line coming to the checkered flag. The only difference that would make, Andy, is it would put Malone, if the 71 is penalized in P5, I think that still gives Berger the 3 positions allotted to be able to sneak this one out at the end. After that, taking 2 laps to go, it looked like he was done. But we'll wait for official word. But Andrew Berger's camp celebrating. They think they're moving on to the round of 6.
Oh, man, how awesome would that be for the 42 of Andrew Berger to get that job done? Got into the chase based on points, having a solid season. And for him to get a win here tonight, it is an unofficial just as of yet, or as of right this second. But we'll see how it all shapes out when we get the points. But it's going to be awesome to see how this actually, but that was probably the closest cumulative we've had so far this season.
So we'll step away as race control checks the tape, but when we come back, we'll talk to your top finishers and as well, maybe send another driver into the round of 6 in the championship. Frank Basilia, your winner of heat race number 3 on the night. That looks like Andrew Berger, unofficially your cumulative winner from Daytona. The post-race show is next. Stay tuned.
Did you know the lion's sense of vision is so powerful, it actually enables nearby creatures to see better? Here we see lions assisting the offspring of others, while their parents are elsewhere in the wild. Brilliant, isn't it? Making the wild kingdom look much better indeed. Do good, be a lion.
We're back live at Daytona International Speedway, still awaiting the official word to come down from the tower on who your overall cumulative event winner is, but we're happy to have you with us for the LSRTV post-race show for round number 17. Frank Basilia, we know that much, is the driver that comes home, but in front, let's take a look at your full race results. The Bernardi 4 taking home the win in this third race on the evening. Again, the overall event win still to be determined by the results of all three tonight, but Andrew Berger comes home second in heat race number 3. Mark Jorgensen Jr. inside of the top 3 as well, with Tom Mustak is 4th, and Christian Peterson coming home in P5. Casey Malone P6, 7th for Rodney Wofford, 8th Shane McKeechin, 9th is Chris Basidi, and Dana Osborne coming home in P10. Josh Ball with an 11th place result, 12th for Matt Quick, Kelly Dahl, and Sean Boundy, 13th and 14th, finish out on the lead lap, and then the rest of the drivers multiple laps down. Seth the Merchant, Paul Servant, Ramon Evans, Jason Altmans, and Daniel Holloway through 20th, with Ray Rittenauer, Greg Cooks, and Rod Flagg rounding out the field. We'll step down trackside, caught up with your third race winner on the evening, Frank Basilia, taking home the checkered flag in this final race on the night. Frank, congratulations to you guys. Not the overall night I'm sure that you were looking for, trying to get the overall event win, being down on the ladder, and obviously a lot of pressure on you guys going into the next race to try to advance it around to 6. But at least the third race was fairly good for you guys. You started back in 20th. You took home the W. Talk us through your night, though.
Just frustrating overall because as far down as I am, I can only win the advance, and I don't want to bring up the first race because that was, I have nothing good to say about that one. But it was what it was. Just try to recover and run every lap that you can, get what you can get, and I'm not sure where we're at, standings wise, and we have to do the penalty reviews and all that stuff. So I'll still need to win in a couple of weeks, or I don't know. I just go 100%, and whatever happens at this point.
After running such a strong season, we were talking about this last week and as well this week, going from 16 drivers down to 6 after the first round. You're taking 10 drivers who are not going to be able to advance it around to 6. And, as you mentioned, and as we've noted a couple of times tonight, you're currently on that list of 10. How difficult does that make things for you guys? We know the ice Super Chase format's extremely difficult to master, and I don't really think it's a format that would lead to multi-time repeat champions, because it does take not only obviously a large amount of skill to be able to put yourself into positions to win these races, but undeniably it takes a little bit of luck. What are your feelings on that, working for the season so long and then kind of finding yourself really in a position that you can't help yourself out of?
You brought it up perfectly. I knew season 1, it was just straight up points, and grabbed the season 1 title, and Chaburko grabbed season 2, and then we kind of did a semi-chase, or the chase format as it was season 3. I think that was Rod. But it's really tough because with only having 2 or 3 races, you have one bad race like I did last week, and then you really have to race like a blankety blank, since we're on air, to try and stay up front and grab a win. So it puts you in a tough situation. But that's 16 guys facing the same thing, so I have nothing to lose. I'm out of the cut right now. We're just going to try to win the next one and see where it gets us.
A good result in the last one, though. You guys were able to end on a high note, and we hope that you enjoy the off week, and we hope to see you guys run strong in 2 weeks' time. Frank, before we let you go, the sponsors and shout-outs who makes it happen.
Yeah, thank you, Evan. Of course, y'all for broadcasting the league, top-notch. Want to thank my wife as well for allowing me to race virtual NASCARs. And, all the guys that come in and week out to put this league on. I think we had almost 30 guys. That's a heck of a turnout. I want to thank everybody for giving it all they got, and we'll go try to get them next week.
Thanks for sticking around and chatting with us, Frank. Again, congratulations. We will see you right back here in 2 weeks.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
That is Frank Basilica, your winner tonight in the third race on the evening. Still, I believe, awaiting an official word on if there are going to be any penalty points that would affect the current standings. But the unofficial results show Andrew Berger taking this, Andy, much as we had anticipated, and our rough math happened to line up with, which I think is a miracle in and of itself, of 2 points over Casey Malone at Ronnie Waffer with a solid result. We're so right now third, 6 points back, still waiting for those numbers to be confirmed.
Yeah, I'm still waiting to see if they will be confirmed. I don't even know if they'll actually get to it here tonight or not, but we'll see how that went. But I think it'd be pretty disappointing, I think, if Andrew Berger didn't get this. I mean, he drove a fantastic race. A couple of top fives involved in the 3 races here tonight. So, I mean, he was just smooth all night long, had to come from the back to the front, and he did a great job. And, at the end when it mattered the most, he was able to stay out ahead of that 92 and get the win here tonight. Hopefully it does stick for him. We know Casey probably would have liked to get the win, but we already knew he got the win from last week, which got him in anyway, so he can't be too disappointed of not picking up the W here tonight. Still another strong performance for him, and he's got to be pretty happy with the momentum that he's carrying on here as the chase began with the win last week and second place this week.
Yeah, so at the moment, Andrew Berger did what he needed to do because, it's very difficult. We discussed what needed to happen coming into this race and, that he needed to get him by 2 or 3 points or whatever. So Race Control has released the unofficial results. Andrew Berger, your winner at Daytona. That may be... I highly doubt that anything is going to change from that down the line, but again, do have to state that as of now, it is unofficial, but Andy Kessler caught up down in victory lane with tonight's overall winner and now second driver in the round of 6.
That's right, down here in the victory lane, and we're talking to the driver of the 42, and that's Andrew Berger. And Andrew, man, how about this? Getting yourself a cumulative win here tonight. You have to be. It's not only just getting the win, but you got to be strong all 3 races. You were able to do that tonight, and you come out on top 2 points over Casey Malone.
Oh man, yeah, I'm thrilled. It's about time. I've been looking for a win all here all season, and finally came through tonight. Like you said, had some strong runs tonight in the cumulative format, and I know this is one of my stronger formats here, and finally worked out tonight where I was racing against Casey there the last couple laps. Pointing with points, I was calculating in my head of what I had to do, and I wasn't sure I was going to get it there. Those guys put me in the sucker hole there for like 3 to go, and I just got stay in the inside side draft, and was able to rocket myself back up there and able to point out Casey there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and we talk about the how important it is to get the wins and get the yourself advanced to that next round. You had a strong season overall and into the you had. I'm looking at the thing going on here in the ticker, but you had a strong season. Got yourself into the chase based on points, and that's based on consistency. And we talk about this series being so tough to even just get the wins. We had 2 people with 2 wins over the course of the whole season. The 15 races, it makes it that much. It's so tough to get a win in the series, let alone to do it. And you did it here in the chase. So obviously you get to lock yourself in. And we talk about the pressure being off of you now because when you have a field of 16 and you're going to take 10 of those away after 3 races, that's a lot of pressure on 16 drivers. But you ultimately took that pressure away from you tonight.
Yeah, that's exactly. I was sweating it out there. I wanted to get the victory, so I wouldn't have to worry about the next race. And like you said, gutsed out 10 drivers, and if you don't have a win, it's hard to get into the next round. And yeah, I've had a pretty good season up until this point. I've been struggling the last couple weeks, and was glad to get myself back up in the top 5 and actually get the win this week. So yeah, it's always good. And I gotta thank my teammates there for working with me throughout the race with Josh Ball and Jorgensen and Mustakas and Malone and all the guys. Frank, it was just a good evening all around.
Yeah, it absolutely was. You get to move on to the next round. You get a couple weeks to soak this one in and enjoy this victory. Sponsors, shout-outs. Andrew, who helps you get it done each week?
Yeah, like I said, I just gotta thank the guys that were helping me there, pushing me throughout all the weeks, and Josh Ball specifically. Going back in this, and this victory kind of harkens back to the good old Super Speedway Cup days when we were do this kind of format every week, and love those days. But yeah, like I said, this is my format, and hopefully, I think we'll get another one of these in a couple weeks at Talladega. So watch out for me then.
That's awesome to hear. Congratulations again on the win here tonight, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks, guys.
There you have it. Our winner tonight, Andrew Berger, comes out on top, 2 points. Got a Casey Malone, who has also locked himself in, and send it down now to Evan. He's caught up with our driver of the 92.
It was almost his in the end of this one, and it looked like that it was going to come right down to it, and that was the case. He had a 2-point advantage into the final race on the night. And unfortunately, he unofficially leaves with a 2-point disadvantage. Casey, the good news for you guys is you took care of business last Friday, but I know you would have wanted this one. To talk us through how intense those final 5 laps were, knowing that out of all the possible scenarios that could have came down to, you just happened to be racing for the race win with the one guy that you were fighting against for the overall win.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. Our pit strategy seemed to work really well, and we in every race throughout the night we came out nose to tail pretty much. So it was pretty hectic.
Coming into tonight's race, we talked about last Friday, getting the job done, punching your ticket to the next round, knowing that you made it a lot harder on everybody else because there were only 5 spots open to advance to the next round. Well, now there's only 4 spots open that 14 drivers are going to have to fight for next week. Did the mentality change at all coming into this one, just going for the win, or did you think that maybe you could take a little bit more risk than you normally would, or take it a little bit easier?
I just kind of did the same thing I always try to do, and stay out of wrecks and make sure I hit my pit stops right. But I knew with it being between Andrew and I the last few laps that either way it would be a win-win for us since we work together on the same team speak.
So we look forward. You guys get to enjoy the off week, and like I said, it's when you look at the scheme of things inside of tonight, so close, and it could really down guys down. But you guys are already looking forward to the round at Talladega. What's the game plan coming into here in 2 weeks' time back at Daytona, knowing that the next time you're going to be at Daytona following that is going to be right back here for the championship race, trying to figure any last-minute things out?
Really, I think my strategy is try not to crash and make sure I don't speed on pit road for the remainder of the season. So.
Well, we saw a couple of mistakes tonight take a couple of guys out of this one. Almost back-to-back wins, Casey, another strong run, and you're making a lot of noise in the chase, and I think it's going to be hard-pressed to not put that number 92 up as possibly one of the favorites going into the last round of this championship, and hopefully you guys have good luck in a round of 6 and move it on to the round of 3, but before we let you go, sponsors and shout-outs to those good people who makes it happen.
Yeah, I'd like to thank all my friends and Rod Flack.
Devo, well, hey, congratulations, sir. Enjoy the Memorial Weekend, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Alrighty, sounds good.
So that's Casey Malone, the second-place overall finisher, Andy, on the night, the 6th-place finisher in the final race, but the championship leader into the next race, if you got all that written down on your notepad. 2 drivers are now locked in. Casey Malone and Andrew Berger going to the round of 6. There's only 4 spots left.
Yeah, and I mean, think about the course of this season and how it's gone, and the guys like Christian Peterson, the guys Josh Ball, the drivers that we talk about, we set the merchant week in and week out, getting the wins, getting themselves up to the front, and then now you look at it with the way the standings are now, and you look at that top 6, and the top 6 are names we don't talk about all season long as much as those other guys week in and week out. I'm liking this. I'm liking exactly how this is playing out because, I mean, you're besides Christian Peterson up in that top 6 right now in the point standings for this chase round, it's a whole different crowd up there, and I like it. I like what I'm seeing right now, and unfortunately, one more spot has to be determined in 2 weeks' time. Obviously, somebody with a win, and unless Andrew or Casey picks up their second win here in this opening round of the chase, you might be, there's that one shot left over for those guys we're talking about. And you know what? It could be anybody in the field as well. Any of those guys in that top 16 or or even anybody, just somebody not even, how about a Ray Rittenauer getting it done? He was outside the top 16. What if he got it done next week and took one of those wins away from these Chase guys? I mean, a lot of setting up to be getting it done here in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and normally by this point we would have been forced to talk about the guys that like to play spoiler, drivers not in the chase, wreaking havoc on it. And well, they have been a factor deeper in the pack, and I think even mid-pack at battling for the race win tonight in spots that mattered, but not directly in the wins. Now, you are correct with the fact that the guys that are up front now, as you said, are the names that we're not accustomed to talking about every single week, but that is what these plate tracks can do. I can't wait for the next race on the championship, because we're going to be right back here at Daytona for an 82-lap endurance event. And then the next endurance event that we have, and the only one that's left after that, is back at Daytona for the finale in Florida on the 24th, later on at the end of the month. So with that being said, it's going to be an exciting run. We hope you enjoy next Friday off. Have a happy Memorial Day weekend, and we'll see you back here in Daytona. Go to LiveSimRacing.com for more information. Make sure to give us a like on Facebook at Facebook.com/LiveSimRacingTV for all the latest information. That's it. Until next time, on behalf of everybody at LSRTV LLC and for the broadcast team tonight, for myself, Evan Pasoko, for Andy Kessler and Cisco Scaramouza, congrats to Andrew Berger. He's going chase racing at round of 6. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time right back here from the World Center of Racing. You're watching the iSuperspeedway.com racing series on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
This copyrighted broadcast is presented under the authority of LSRTV LLC and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations and may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form, nor the accounts and descriptions of this event disseminated in any way without the express written permission of Live Sim Racing TV. LSRTV would like to thank its loyal fans for their continued support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.